All right, good evening. It is Monday, February 9th at 6:10 p.m. This is the Recreations and Park Committee. I am Jeffrey Whidden. I'm joined today by Ms. Hickman and Mrs. Westfall. We have a few items on our agenda tonight. We'll start with number one, might as well. First up is a recommendation to council regarding the temporary activation of the DORA for concerts on June 20th, July 4th, and August 1st of this year. Mr. Titterington, do you have any more details?
Since, yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Since we've had the DORA, this has become a routine request. The Recreation and the Park Board Commissioners at their January 21st joint meeting both reviewed the dates, reviewed the requests, and are recommending that Council approves. This is the temporary activation. That is the part of the DORA map that is not activated unless it's very specifically authorized by the Council on a case-by-case basis. As part of that requires the consent of the property owner. In this case, it's really a partnership between the city, the rec board, and the park board. So we like to have everybody and basically require all to approve it. They have done so, and we are getting ready to. We're getting closer to announcing the bands for each one of those dates. We're finalizing some scheduling, and then we will announce that on social media as soon as we have that. We are not requesting emergency legislation.
Yeah. Agreed. That's something we've done in the past. I don't believe we've had any issues that I'm aware of, so I do not have any questions. Ms. Hickman?
I do not have any questions either. None.
Any other members of council? Is there anyone in the audience with any questions or concerns about this particular item? Do you have a recommendation?
Proceed.
It is unanimous to proceed with that. On to item number 2. We are now looking at a recommendation to council regarding authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety to enter into an executive in, very small font, related agreements and accept grants from the Troy Foundation and the UVMC Community Benefit Fund for turf replacement for playground equipment at Duke Park. Mr. Titterington.
And actually, you should have an amended memo that adds a related request. So the park board today made a positive recommendation to the council asking that we authorize two grants that we received to offset the cost of the Duke Park turf surface under the brand new to be installed playground equipment again at Duke Park. The total cost of the turf, the total cost of the playground was approximately $250,000. That was budgeted and paid for in 2025. At the time when that budget was passed or discussed and passed, we have been pursuing grant opportunities. The UVMC Community Fund and the Troy Foundation both graciously awarded us the funding to pay $190,000 for the actual surface. We had hoped that there was some kind of cooperative mechanism to be able to not have to go out to formal bids because there are certain avenues that the law director will allow us to do that when there's competitive bidding. Most notably and most often that is the state cooperative purchasing. Unfortunately, this did not qualify, and so we do need to advertise for bids. There's a very small number of companies, but we still have to go through that process. And so as part of the amended agenda and request, at the same time as we're accepting the grants, we also need your authorization to go out to bid so that we can award a contract and get all that scheduled as as early as when this never-ending weather breaks and we get into spring.
Had the park board finalized exactly what the field turf will be, or do they just know we want to get it and they'll make the final decisions about color and texture at a later date?
They'll have the opportunity to do that if they want to. One of the caveats in the awarding of the grants, and that the park board is well aware of, is some kind of recognition for who's made the donations, whether it's a logo on the side of the surface similar to what's been done at the stadium, because it's very similar surface to what the stadium field is.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the materials and the type, there's really only one standard. There may be some flexibility in the color, not sure how much flexibility, but that would be a conversation between the park superintendent and the park board.
Ms. Westfall, do you have any questions?
My only question is, why didn't it qualify for the state program?
It's not on the state bid, so it has to have been offered, advertised through the state, and the state in that case, in many cases, like such as vehicles and other kind of equipment, they will actually do the formal sealed bidding process on behalf of any and all communities that want to join into that. And so because they have that one central bid, everybody, all the municipalities can benefit from it.
Okay.
This was not a case where they did that.
Okay.
Ms. Hickman, any questions?
No, I don't believe so.
Do any other members of council have any questions? Any members of the public? Your recommendation?
Move forward. Move forward.
It is unanimous to move forward. All right, next up, will we take these?
Does that need to be emergency?
We do, yes, we would like emergency on this one,
Are you okay with that, Ms.
Yes.
so that we can
Yes.
get the
Yes,
funding,
I'm okay
yes.
with that.
It is unanimous that we are okay with emergency legislation there. Now for item 3, are we going to take these, are we going to have individual votes on these, or is this all in one, each one? Item 3, A, B, and C?
It's really up to you. I can explain them all, and then how we would anticipate, once the report is read next week, and if you want to break them down and...
All right, well, why don't I give a little preamble about each one and then let you...
Sure.
So,
It's a fairly large amount of paper related to this report. Basically what happened was on January 21st, as part of the joint Park and Recreation Board meeting, they did have a follow-up discussion and made a series of recommendations that followed the December 3rd joint workshop that was held. On the initial recommendations and discussion regarding the Park and Recreation Master Plan. At the meeting, the boards discussed a list of talking point priorities that had been suggested in December. And so they came out with several recommendations and discussions and recommendations, the first of which is that they are interested in the council pursuing option, what's known as option 1A of the Duke Park redevelopment plan. The 2026 budget in the Park and Recreation Capital Improvement Fund includes $1 million towards design and engineering work related to the master plan process. Primarily in this case, it would be much of it would be dedicated to what we put together for Duke Park. That is a professional services contract, and so under normal circumstances, the council would not act until after we have gone through the request for proposal process, the evaluation, the interview and evaluation, and then recommendation phase. And in those rarer cases, that's where then we would come to you with a preferred contractor and ask you to allow us to award the bid and sign the contract. So it's an after the fact, after the evaluation process. That is not typical for statutory cities when it comes. Well, that's not the way the process is followed when it's regarding construction projects, even the turf project, for example, where we ask for authorization to bid, we keep it within the amounts, and then we award based on what your authorization was. So normally, based on the budget, we would do our work up front, which is extensive, and then come to you after the fact. In this case, since there was a decision point as part of the master plan, option one, 1A, B, or C, the Rec and Park Board making recommendation on option 1A, we wanted to come back and get confirmation that council was okay with us pursuing designing and engineering based on 1A. That there's still going to be a decision point afterwards, because 1A could be, any number of things, but it's certainly the most comprehensive look at Duke Park. And since we don't have, at this point, an established budget for any kind of construction on something of this scale, and we really don't know what that scale is, to be honest, diving into a design firm, trying to set up some objectives simply based on Park and Recreation Board's recommendations to you all might be a little risky. And so what we're asking on this one is for council to confirm by motion after you read the report next week, that you're okay with us starting that process. We still come back to you once we're done with that RFP process and we've picked a firm. You will still have to formally at that point then authorize us to sign the contract with that firm. So we'll continue the regular process as an additional step up front, just to kind of make sure that you're on the same page as the two boards. Mm-hmm. So that's that item. The Park Board recognizes that they've got some work to do related to the 20-plus parks throughout the system, neighborhood pocket parks, regional parks, if you will, and that they will be evaluating each park and making recommendations as to what amenities should be at those parks. That they will include an evaluation of whether those parks, that parkland may be considered surplus, what equipment is out there, what equipment is, what types of playground equipment and other related recreational equipment is at parks that are nearby, whether there should be duplication at parks, or maybe there's some opportunity to have different amenities at different parks, all of that. And they know that that's a process that they're willing to step up and start doing that in 2026, and then make recommendations for a 3 to 5 year window of time to schedule out replacements and enhancements of the playground equipment. Having said that, though, they recognize, like we have in our past capital budget planning, that now that we've Duke Park equipment and soon to be surface, that issue resolved. Community park equipment is just about as old. It has been scheduled in a capital plan for at least a couple of years. Because we have the master planning process, it was not included in the 2026 budget, but was noted rather for 2027. Knowing that we may come back and want to readjust that schedule, their recommendation is that the council consider making a reappropriation of $500,000 because we're talking about similar, equipment to what's at Duke, the 250 plus the 190, plus probably some inflation. And so that, if the council is so inclined, would be considered as part of a reappropriation at the next meeting, or the one following that, depending on whether the auditor can get the paperwork ready to go. So that's the second item. The irrigation system, both boards recognize that the irrigation system at the shores has greatly outlived its life. It is really becoming more and more of a maintenance concern. Part of it is over 25 years old, which exceeds its useful life, but the other part is nearing, I believe it's around 50 years old, twice as long. So kudos to the Shores staff for being able to Band-Aid it for as long as they have, but that is something that if we are going to continue to operate that municipal golf course, needs to be done. The total estimated cost of that project is anticipated to be approximately $2.5 million. However, the first phase, the largest phase of it, is directly addressing the irrigation system, which is $2.1 million. We are the Park and Recreation boards recommend that be part of the reappropriation, the $2.1 million, in addition to the $500,000. We would not do the replacement in 2026, but we anticipate in 2025, council authorized some funds to do the preliminary design, the analysis of what we have and what needs to be replaced and how. They are finalizing that. I believe they've got plans of about 80 to 85% done. Once they do that, then we would want to go out to bid on the system, because we need to secure a vendor. There are 2 or 3 vendors, I believe, and then also have to encumber the funds as soon as we sign the contract, and it would be 100% of the funds would have to be encumbered. The other important part of that is that these installers, these companies, they schedule out sometimes years in advance. We anticipate that if we can get going sooner, that we could have this project started and probably finished during the 2027 season. So that's why it's a 2026 ask. Mm-hmm. Second phase of that is the $400,000 phase-ish, but that's still being evaluated. And that is related improvements once we get the irrigation system, repairing and enhancing tee boxes, particularly the asphalt or the concrete, depending on what we want to put there, and the transition into the green space, which has suffered because of the style and design of the current irrigation system, among other issues, as well as connections at greens, between greens and tee boxes in selected places. So that's where phase 2 would come in, and that would be a future year appropriation. The fourth item is phase 1 of the pool, is the repairs to the existing structures. There are several other items that were recommended by the Park and Recreation boards, related to adding some seating structures, as well as expanding the concession building. Those were high priorities of the focus group and the stakeholders, and were called out as a priority in the master plan. I'll say the draft master plan, because you have not seen the final one yet. And that second phase, the second phase would be those additional seating. I apologize. There's about a $50,000 estimated design cost related to that, which is not in the budget. And the pool budget is tight. It doesn't have a lot of extra resources. And so that would be part of a reappropriation request as well, with an eye towards then designing improvements after the Phase 1 improvements, or making the improvements after the Phase 1 improvements are complete. The Park Board in particular noted the work and was appreciative of the work that the Skate Park Unite group is doing. They were impressed by the concept. They understood that, if you remember from, I believe it was December 3rd, there was some discussion about another round of focus groups within the various constituencies that use the skate park. And they have had that, and they continue to have dialogue, so we appreciate their willingness to do that. They are still in the fundraising phase, but when we looked at the master plan and talked to the Park and Recreation Board, the recommendation is focusing on some of the support infrastructure that would go out there, other than the whatever they do on skateboards, because I've never done it myself. It would not be pleasant. Is just two. Again, this goes back to the motion and no formal reappropriation action at this time, but it's about $410,000 estimated cost of items that would benefit the skate park in a variety of different ways. Permanent restrooms being one, some lighting out there that's not there now, as well as just some other furniture, non-skating on furniture like benches and that kind of thing. That's about $410,000, and we really wanted to support the effort and let the skate park folks know that the council would be committed to this project in future years. We don't know what year that would be, but perhaps by having that commitment and affirming that commitment, that might help them in their fundraising efforts. Let's see. I mentioned a little bit the surplus parks, and that will be something that the Park Board will do. And so our requested action of the council is a recommendation on I guess, support or acknowledgement of direction for us to do an RFP in the design and engineering process for Duke Park based on option 1A. Phase 2 of the Troy Aquatic Park design funds as well. A reappropriation of the $2.68 million that would cover the community park playground equipment and surface, the Phase 1 of the irrigation system, as well as the Phase 2 pool design costs. And then again, by that motion I mentioned, affirming a future year commitment of up to the $410,000 towards the skate park effort. And this is not requested as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr. Titterington. So I think we might want to take those one by one a little bit, if just at least to streamline conversation. Starting with our first one, which is the Duke Park request for proposal. I guess quickly, with a synopsis, could you give us just a synopsis for those who may not have been at those meetings, what option 1A broadly was?
Sure. So there were three options. I'll start in reverse order. Option 1C was basically no growth in the park, no additional sports capabilities, basically a repair and refresh. Option 1B was more than that, but would not necessarily expand many of the sports fields, okay? You might get a minimum number of them, and it would be not nearly enough to support the kind of growth that's being projected in the park master plan. 1A would be the most comprehensive approach, where basically they're looking at all of Duke Park, the McDade property to the south, the Huelskamp property to the north, even the Robinson Reserve, although not saying that anything's going to happen there, but certainly it's part of a holistic analysis, as well as what the demand is for soccer, for football, and certainly, last but not least, baseball. And what amenities can fit where, what might need to move or be redesigned to maximize the space, and then, of course, what kind of support infrastructure would be needed, such as parking lots, utility line extensions, and the like, as well as restroom facilities, shelters, etc. So it's a complete look, and at least on paper, perhaps even blowing up the park. And another thing that everyone knows is that if we expand the activity at the park, we only have one access in and out of the park, where would additional ingress and egress points be best placed?
So taking what we have said we might want out there with option 1A, this request for proposals is going to go to the engineering.
It's going to go to engineering firms.
Say, how would you accomplish this, basically, is what we'd be asking them.
Well, we would be putting all of that, working with Structure Point and Legacy Group to identify those objectives in more of a engineering word speak, and then we would reach out to a whole. There's several firms that we use, but that they will also have access to get the broadest reach, and the most RFPs that we can possibly get to be as competitive as possible.
And the same would hold true for the Troy Aquatic Park portion of it as well.
It would be that would be a smaller scale project, much smaller scale project, I anticipate, but it would be the same.
Mrs. Westfall, do you have any questions about this particular portion of it?
No, I look forward to seeing what those plans look like and that we move forward with it.
Okay. Actually, if I can come back to your question on the pool we would anticipate, since MSA has done phase 1, Mr. Kerber has indicated that phase 2 would be a logical extension of phase 1, and so adding that to the contract, I believe it might put us over the $80,000, so we would be coming back to you to amend that contract. But Mr. Kerber felt that was legal and appropriate and made the most sense because they already know the facility, they're already doing phase 1, and the learning curve would be minimal.
And phase 1 is what we've already approved, the
Yes.
maintenance stuff, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
Ms. Hickman, do you have any questions?
I was at the meeting of the Parks and Rec Committee, and they definitely seem to be very in favor of all of this. I feel like they asked lots of questions, got lots of answers. I know like a street study kind of was asked about to make sure like traffic flowing in and out of that area will be looked at, especially with we're having these big tournaments hopefully come in and whatnot. So yeah, I feel like the Parks and Rec Board definitely has done their due diligence and is very much in favor of all of this. And then same with what Patrick had just said, adding phase 2 kind of the pool into phase 1. It really does make sense because they're already kind of working on the entrance with phase 1. So phase 2 would be like expanding the concessions and whatnot. So I feel like that makes total sense.
Do any other members of council have any questions as the Duke Park Troy Aquatic Park portion of this?
I have a quick question.
Ms. Marsh?
Up in number 2, right above that, it said, that we're accepting a grant for updating the playground equipment and the turf for out at Duke. Would that have any effect on, would that new turf be torn up?
No, no, we would put some
So
fencing.
they're not going to do anything to the
Yeah, virtual,
playground is?
no, we're not gonna, we wouldn't be digging up stuff that we know is,
Okay, that's,
we have a brand-new park maintenance
Right.
facility, we're not going to move that either, and it happens to be adjacent, so.
okay.
Do any of the members of the public have any questions or concerns about this portion? Moving on to number B, which is the recommendation from the Park Board for playground equipment upgrades, making them ADA accessible, turf upgrades, studying whether we need to have any excess parkland, and then also the irrigation for Miami Shores. Ms. Westfall, do you have any questions on that portion?
My only question is, have we pursued grant money for these costs?
No, but we can and
Okay,
will. I
so
mean,
that
there's,
will
really
correct.
the only grant that might be, although we don't want to go to the well too often to the same sources, might be the, something related to the playground equipment. But we have explored other options and have been in contact between Legacy and American Structure Point to see if there are any other ones out there.
Okay.
Ms. Hickman?
No, I have no questions.
Do any of the members of council have any questions on this portion of the agenda? Any members of the public? Alrighty, and then lastly, the skate park and a $410,000 commitment to that program. I do think that is a wonderful program that volunteer group has done, and well worth the time and effort they have put in. Ms. Hickman, did you have anything further to add on that?
I think it's a wonderful idea. I think we need something. I have clients that live in that area, and I know they enjoy the park being there as well, even if they're not necessarily skateboarders themselves. And so I think it's a great commitment to have.
Mrs. Westfall?
My only question is, so this commitment is if they raise a certain amount of money, then this will get chipped in, or how? Explain that to me.
That remains to be seen, really. It's
Okay.
just, at this point, it's just your verbal commitment to it. I mean, you can't
Okay.
commit future councils to a budget that hasn't been passed yet, of
Right.
course. But, making the statement that, you support the project and, allowing the skate park fundraisers to be able to tell people that is important, I think, and should help them. Certainly, if they come up with more of it, I don't know why you would, refuse to accept more of the fundraising. But on the flip side, if they are, they fall short and they come back, that's something the council can consider as well at that time.
Okay, so this is just over the next 5 years?
Yeah, this is just getting it into the capital plan. It may bounce from year to year, like some items
Right.
do from time to time.
And
but at
it's
least
not for anything
there.
specific, it's just an overall amount of money for, they were talking about restrooms, lighting, furnishings, so it would go to those things specifically?
Yeah, we would just include that in the notes on the capital plan.
Okay. I'm a big fan of the skate park. I think there's a lot of kids that use it. I've been to lots of their fundraisers and definitely want to support kids that don't necessarily enjoy organized sports, but they do have contests there, and it's fun to see a lot of the area kids, along with kids from Dayton, Cincinnati, Columbus, that show up just to participate in the programs there, and restrooms are definitely needed. So I'm a big fan.
Is there any other members of council have any questions? Any members of the public? Should we vote individually or as a whole? Do you want to take it as a package?
Well, there's nothing I'm not going to support,
Yeah.
so.
I agree as well, so formal recommendation?
Sure.
Yep,
Yes.
move forward.
It is unanimous for the whole package there. Is there anything else to come before the Recreation and Park Committee this evening?
No, sir.
We stand adjourned. Thank you very much.